Everyone, welcome to the Postgame Show. I'm just so excited, okay? I can't hold it in on that one. Welcome to the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. Chris McPherson joined alongside Ike Reese. Breathe a little easier, okay? It was the matchup from January, the divisional round playoff game, repeated here with basically the same ending. Matt Ryan goes to Julio Jones. This time it was to the left side of the field. Ronald Darby in coverage. Jones catches the ball this time, but his momentum takes him out of bounds, and the Eagles escape with the 18-12 victory. Ike, in my estimation, this is exactly what the Eagles had to do tonight, okay? We all knew that with Nick Foles starting at quarterback, there were a lot of turnover on offense in terms of players being injured during the preseason, not being able to get that rhythm. The defense had to step up to the task, but when push came to shove, the Eagles offense got the job done to get the go-ahead touchdown. Jay Ajayi, his second score of the night, an 11-yard scant late in the fourth quarter, and the defense held on to give the Eagles the win. For me, you're going against a battle-tested, very, very good veteran Falcon squad. You just had to steal this one so you kind of get your feet set as you go into the 2018 season.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I've learned, Chris, watching these two play again tonight, is that these are two teams that are very close when it comes to talent, when it comes to execution, when it comes to being matched up against one another. They do a lot of similar things. You remember back to the game in January, that was a defensive battle. Same thing here tonight. The Eagles offense, tough sledding for the most part in the first half. Eagles defense keeping them in the game, big stops in the red zone. That's really the difference in the game tonight. The Eagles defense in the first half, keeping the Falcons out of the end zone, allowing the Eagles offense to find a rhythm in the second half and get things going. And midway through that third quarter, how about Dougie P bringing out a different version of the Philly special from the Super Bowl, sort of igniting this offense in the second half, certainly igniting the Eagles fans inside of Lincoln Financial Field. And I thought the defense was just outstanding all night. Hey, a little bit of bend, but don't break. It's going to be difficult stopping Julio Jones. The Falcons, they target him so much. He's going to get his catches. He's going to get his yards. But for the fourth straight game, this Eagles defense, when facing the Falcons, have been able to keep Julio Jones out of the end zone. He gets his numbers in between the goal line to goal line.
That's fine.
But he hasn't gotten in the end zone. And a great job, really deja vu all over again. That final defensive stand down there where Matt Ryan has multiple opportunities throwing the ball in the end zone. Great job by the Eagles red zone defense, keeping them out of the end zone. Had us here with our hearts in our throats a little bit. But you know what? What a great way to kick off the 2018 season. And we realized that the defense was going to have to come out and lead the charge.
You knew that.
Yeah, because the offense, they just haven't had enough time to be on the field together. That showed tonight. Sloppy play as well. When you don't play guys in the preseason, and this isn't anything that's specifically related to the Eagles, this is a trend around the National Football League going through the preseason, you're going to get sloppy play. Penalties everywhere, turnovers in the second half, but the Eagles able to pull it together and really start running the ball with Jay Ajayi, and I think that gave them a little momentum as well. Big plays from Darren Sproles. Nelson Aguilar, really the only threat in the passing game all night, and they had to use him in a different facet of ways just to get the ball moving. But just a great game, man. The defense, so many stars on that side of the ball that we can go through. I'm going to love looking at this game.
This is going to be fun to watch. 26 total penalties called and accepted in this ball game. So certainly, as you said, it's almost preseason-esque. It's basically when you're resting guys during the actual preseason, you're going to take these first couple weeks of the year to get themselves acclimated. It's almost the approach that New England takes with its team because they play so late into the year over and over and over again that by the time you get to the next regular season, it's such a shortened window that, look, you want to keep your guys as fresh as possible, so you're using these September games, and that's why in the past couple of years when we've seen the Patriots lose one of those close games early on, you say to yourself, is this the year when it's going to unfold? Well, no, that's not the case. It's just a matter of fact that, look, they're trying to get their feet under them so they can peak when you get to October, November, and December when you're making that playoff push there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to send it over to Lincoln Financial Field, and we're going to bring in the Eagles insider himself, Dave Spadaro and Amy Campbell. Look, I mean, what a thriller, Dave, first and foremost there. The Eagles' red zone defense holding the Falcons out 4 out of 5 opportunities. It seems like all offseason, Atlanta was preaching that it was going to have a better red zone offense, and that was not the case tonight. What did the Eagles do down there at the goal line to be able to keep the Falcons out when it mattered most?
Well, a couple things here, Chris, and thank you very much for bringing it to Amy and I here. An absolute replica of the game in January against the Falcons, the NFC divisional playoff game. And what the Eagles did so well in the red zone, they dominated the line of scrimmage. Amy and I talked about this before the game. My focus was on the line of scrimmage. Focus was on outside and coverage, and the Eagles dominated in both.
Yeah, we were both right. I thought it was really a defensive for the home team, and like Chris mentioned, multiple tries there for the Atlanta offense. Atlanta was in the red zone a lot tonight, and they did not they weren't converting to touchdowns in a lot of those chances. And so, like you said, that defensive line kind of making it happen for them in the trenches, and then on the outside, the DBs really stepping up. And of course, Julio's Julio, so he's going to eat no matter what. But outside of that, I'd say a great defensive showing from the home team.
Yeah, and the Eagles, I think, really, Chris and Ike in that last drive, certainly throughout the game, they never let Matt Ryan drop back, set, feel comfortable in the pocket. They did a lot of it with a 4-man rush that allowed 7 to drop into coverage. And Fletcher Cox, we talked about it before the game, a dominant performance in January against Atlanta. He, Chris Long, Brandon Graham really took care of business up front.
Well, and your guy to watch, Jordan Hicks, too, had that really exciting sack. He basically bowled over Devontae Freeman there to take Matt Ryan down. Really exciting moment there for the defense.
And the Eagles offense did just enough. They were able to mix things up a bit. Obviously, a little bit of trickery helped them early in the game. And then they got the running game going. They got Darren Sproles involved, catching the football. I thought he was a bit of an X factor, Corey Clement. And Jay Ajayi, who's been bothered by a foot injury, ran hard, ran tough, and put the ball in the end zone in the red zone.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns for Jay Ajayi. I think you nailed it there, saying that Philly special replica 2.0 was what seemed to really open up the offense a little bit, that there were a lot of hiccups and, kind of some timing issues, some rhythm issues, maybe some comfort issues for that first team offense, and it seemed like it took, a trick play to kind of get them going a little bit there as well.
And the crowd here, obviously, a big factor, incredibly loud, not to the level, I don't think, of NFC playoffs last year, but very close. It was a great home field advantage for the Eagles.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is my first regular season home game here in Philadelphia, so my first experience with the Philadelphia crowd, and man, I couldn't even leave the field for, I stayed down here for the first half, and I was just soaking it up. The fans were so awesome, and I love the booing, right? Like, you got to keep your team honest. Like,
it didn't take long.
It didn't take long, and I'm reading tweets. People are saying it's a banner night, it's championship banner night, and you're gonna get a boo right into the first quarter. But you got to keep your team honest. You know a good thing when you see it, and you know a bad thing when you see it. So I loved it. My first experience here, it was awesome.
Yeah, and this is the kind of way I think the Eagles are going to have to win early in the season, with a lot of grit, with a lot of fortitude, and doing the little things in the fourth quarter to win games. That's what championship teams do, guys, and that's what the Eagles did this evening.
Great stuff there from Dave and Amy. Dave, can't wait to read your On the Inside column later on, as well as listen to the Eagles Live podcast to recap the win over the Falcons. So Dave and Amy were talking there about the running back rotation, Ike, and to me it seemed like that on that final drive you saw what it could be, what it probably should be here in 2018, with Jay Ajayi as the lead guy, with Corey Clement sprinkling in some key runs there. I thought he was going to break that one for a touchdown there. And then Darren Sproles, the X factor, just so uncanny, especially on third down. He had a third down early in the game. It was a 3rd and short carry where he was able to wiggle by the defender to get the first down, but he had a couple of clutch, possessions there late in the game to help get the Eagles over the hump there. It just seemed like they worked. That's the one thing that they could count on, and I think they could probably, put their emphasis on here, as Dave said, in the first month of the season, as they're going to have to kind of win ugly, so to speak here. I think we saw what the running back rotation can be here for this Eagles team.
Yeah, nice job by Doug. He and Mike Gross sticking with the running game, right? It wasn't working early in the game. I think a big part of that was a lack of a real threat at the receiver position. We didn't throw the ball down the field very much, and what that allows is for Atlanta to really start to crowd the box. And I thought our offensive line struggled with picking up guys, blocking them, getting to the second level, and there weren't very many holes for these running backs to run through in the first half. They tried to switch up the tempo as far as whether you're going with Sproles or whether you're going with Corey or Jay Ajayi. Wasn't much there in the first half. Great job coming out in the second half, getting some misdirection plays. I saw a nice little wrinkle where they brought Nelson Aguilar in for like a jet sweep look. I think that forces Atlanta's eyes to follow him, and they were able to get some quick hitters up the middle with Corey Clement and Darren Sproles as well. And once those plays started to happen, especially the Philly Special 2.0, I think that forced Atlanta to back off a little bit, and it gave the Eagles' offensive line a lot of confidence. And then you started to see them get a body on a body, and Jay Ajayi getting behind his pads, being patient as well. I thought I saw a much more patient runner in the second half. A little Le'Veon Bell-like from Jay Ajayi. That's not something we're accustomed to seeing, but I saw that a little bit in the second half, and that allowed holes to develop. Because when you're running these sort of RPOs or these read actions, you have to give time for the defense to move and then the offensive lineman to get to a certain angle. So you're going to need a little bit of patience. I thought Jay Ajayi showed that in the second half, and he was able to break some big runs. They certainly needed their run game tonight because the passing game was almost wasn't even existent tonight.
Well, what was odd was, to me, I thought we were going to see a little more 12 personnel early on. Okay, you figured, you knew you were hurt at wide receiver there with no Alshon, no Mac Hollins, obviously, and Shelton Gibson out there starting out wide. You have DeAndre Carter playing his first NFL game, playing significant snaps. So I figured we would see a lot of Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, but you didn't really see a lot of the 12 personnel there. And to the Falcons' credit, their linebackers did a very good job of putting the clamps down on Zach Ertz. And Zach Ertz, an off night for him where you don't see him drop the ball, ever, basically. And we saw 2, possibly 3 drops throughout the course of this game. And then Dallas Goedert, you saw the catch radius that he has on that one red zone attempt into the end zone that he almost brought in. And then the turning point of this game was almost the ball that he caught over the middle off that pop pass. And unfortunately, DeMonte KZ was just in the right place at the right time, be able to knock the ball loose. Goddard tried to do what he could to secure it. Deion Jones came up with the interception, and that's where he almost wondered, is that where the tide's going to turn? It seemed like the Eagles, made a lot of mistakes on special teams, especially, were able to overcome them. You figured they were going to have to win ugly tonight, but they were able to overcome some mistakes that you didn't expect them to make in order to get the victory there. So it was interesting from that standpoint of not utilizing the Titans as much as I thought they were going to in this matchup. But again, Atlanta's got a fast, aggressive defense. Maybe they just figured from a matchup standpoint, that wasn't the area where they thought they could win.
And you got to give Nick time to throw the football, right?
Of course.
That fast defense Atlanta has, those tight ends are going to be huge in the red zone. And so we didn't get down in the red zone very often. They ran the ball in when we were able to get down there. So that's something they're going to continue to work on. The Eagles, that's a huge part of their offensive package, using 2 tight ends. So I don't expect that to go away. There were some opportunities there for the tight ends tonight to make some catches. I guarantee you that ball thrown to Dallas Goedert, he's going to do a better job of getting his feet in bounds, making sure he has enough room to come down with that catch.
It's not college.
So, but you see, like you said, catch radius, his size, his ability, even if the man is there in coverage, just throw the ball up to him. He's a good athlete. He can go up there and get the ball. The thing I love that the Eagles were able to do tonight is that they didn't hurt themselves on an offensive standpoint by turning the ball over. The one interception that they had, just a great play by the Atlanta Falcons. Get a safety credit for putting his helmet on the ball and popping it out of there. Other than that, I thought Nick did a great job of keeping the ball out of harm's way.
All right, so we're going to hear from head coach Doug Peterson and quarterback Nick Foles in just a little bit. But first, we're going to send it back over to the link where Eagles Spadero is standing by with defensive end Brandon Graham. All right, there are some audio technical difficulties there. So, again, we're going to hear from Coach Peterson and quarterback Nick Foles in just a few moments there. But the defensive line, just you were wondering how would the rotation work. Yeah. And we didn't see a lot of Haloti Ngata. in the preseason and training camp. And again, he's been around the league for such a long time.
34 years old.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
He's saving it.
Yeah, big fella's not looking at training camp.
But you still saw the juice. The one tackle for loss there in the second half. You said this guy still has it. And those are the types of snaps that you need to get from him so that you don't have to force excessive reps for other guys down the line. I love seeing Michael Bennett moved around the formation. I thought he came off the edge very nicely tonight. Chris Long might just have the wisdom of youth basically at this point here. Once again, getting a strip sack, something that he was so effective at last season for the team, tying for first, I believe, in the league with 4 strip sacks, has another one tonight. Unfortunately, the Eagles weren't able to come up with it, but nonetheless, though, Chris Long bringing that presence off the edge.
Yeah, how can you not love the way Chris plays? Gives you nothing but effort, right? Old guy, been in the league for a few years, still loves playing the game of football. And the great thing about this defensive line is the depth. And these guys are going to benefit from not playing so many snaps. And you saw that come to fruition tonight. In the fourth quarter,
especially
the Eagles were able to get to Matt Ryan. The Falcons couldn't get to Nick Foles late in the game. You got guys cramping up all over the field, guys going to the sideline, not coming back in. You watch the Eagles' defense, they look stronger. And when they could get pressure on Matt Ryan, he didn't have a chance. When they couldn't get pressure on him, he's able to get the ball to Julio. But you saw the depth of that defensive line come to fruition and show why it's going to be the force of the defensive side of the football once again this year, led by Fletcher Cox, led by Chris Long. I like what I saw from Michael Bennett tonight. Regardless if he got a sack or not, there were plenty of times that I saw him get penetration and flush Matt Ryan.
He's around the quarterback.
From
That's
the pocket.
what you need.
And that's what you need to see. Derek Barnett, couple mistakes, lining up off sides, negating a couple sacks. But still, he was around the football tonight. And then my favorite player amongst them all, and it's hard for me to say this considering I'm a Spartan, Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham, the Wolverine, man, he's out there, his first action of the year, and I thought he did a nice job in his limited playing time as well.
Indeed. So, again, the Eagles coming out with the 18-12 victory. Dane Brugler actually had this stat on Twitter during the broadcast, and he said that there are 2 players left from the 08 draft, and it was Chris Long sacking Matt Ryan.
How about that?
So how about that for you right there? So Matt Ryan, was it just me, or did he look off in terms of throwing the football there? Obviously, look, you're throwing to Julio Jones, arguably the best receiver in the game, and Julio's going to make things happen. But there were a lot of balls that Matt Ryan threw tonight that you just kind of wondered, is the arm strength not there? Is there something off? Is it just preseason rust for him?
Yeah, it's hard for me to put a finger on what was exactly going on with Matt Ryan tonight. He was either overshooting balls or he was underthrowing balls poorly. I mean, his quarterback play, quite honestly, and I'll even say some questionable play calling down there in the red zone.
That's going to be the big story out of Atlanta.
If you're in Atlanta, they struggled with red zone last year, not putting the ball in the end zone, having to kick field goals. That was the story tonight. The Eagles' defense in the red zone, able to step up and keep the Falcons out of the end zone. Would they get 1 touchdown tonight, I believe?
1 out of 5.
Yeah, the 1 touchdown. And that was off of a short field from the tipped interception that they were able to get from Tevin Coleman. But, yeah, not getting the ball in the end zone at number 11 is what's going to haunt them.
All right, let's send it over to the link where head coach Doug Pearson is addressing the media.
There was a play we had put in for this week. It was a play that was in our third down menu. We were on the correct hash mark, and it was the right time of the game.
What do you call it?
Philly was the play.
This team, what did you learn about them tonight?
A lot, actually. The biggest thing, again, no panic on the sideline, resiliency, toughness, hanging with each other through all the, kind of the ups and downs, the ebb and flow of the game, the mistakes, the penalties, turnover, just the guys hanging together. Again, there was no panic tonight, and credit. I tell you, the deciding factor in this football game to me was our defensive line and then our offensive line, how they controlled that line of scrimmage. That was a big part of this football game tonight.
Was there a part of you when you called that play, Philly, that kind of saw the same type of situation, like this offense and this building needed a spark and it was a good time for it?
A little bit. We offensively was sort of, misfiring a little bit, early in the game, first half in particular, and we came out in the second half and, just same type of thing, and just we're looking for a big play, somebody to make a play, and you kind of look for that from time to time, and again, just felt like it was the right time to make that call, and guys executed it well.
Philly appeared to be the exact same play New England ran against you guys in the Super Bowl unsuccessfully. Are you aware of that?
That's where we got it from. We just put different people in the game.
The pitch was the difference?
Yeah, they were in 11 personnel, I think, and we were in 12.
The red zone defense tonight, I think they had 5 trips, only 1 touchdown. How important was that, would you say?
Again, it's probably the game, the deciding factor. Defense, again, they got down there and bowed their neck and made several big stops for us, and that's what it takes, I think, early in the season like this until your offense really kind of gets on track and get going a little bit. I know we got the run game going in the second half. We did hit some passes in the second half, but I think that's what you need too and that's why it's a great team sport. You need all 3 phases, and defense played extremely well tonight. And it was unfortunate, too. We could have had a couple of turnovers, a couple interceptions there. But red zone defense was outstanding.
Nelson looked pretty comfortable on the outside. I mean, is there any part of you, I guess, that is at all still kind of marvel where he was and where he got to, and now how you're able to use him within this offense, the player he's become?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Nelson and his work ethic and his drive and motivation to really excel, not only at this level, but also with his craft, being a skilled receiver. And it was evident tonight that our confidence in him, my confidence in him is unbelievable. It's extremely high, and being able to move him inside and outside now and find unique ways to get him the football. He's very explosive with the ball in his hand, and just my hat's off to him, the way he's worked the last couple of seasons to put himself in this position.
First half, Jay, I think, had 3 carries. Then you went to him in the second half. Why that disparity?
Well, we just, again, trying to find a spark offensively, whether it be the runner, whether it be a run scheme, the run fit, whatever it was, and we just couldn't find it in the second half. We made some adjustments at halftime, and I made a conscious effort just to keep him in there on some of those runs, and he was running really hard, and obviously the touchdown late and the 2-point conversion were evident of his ability to run the football, and just leaned on him a little bit more in the second half.
Was it your decision to keep the team in the locker room during the banner unveiling ceremony, and what went into that?
No, I was actually part of the whole tribute. Both teams were going to be in the dressing room during that, and for us, it was just a matter of just getting our guys, prepared for the game without being on the field.
Now, what went through your mind at the end there when you stop them, there's a penalty, you have to do it again, almost the same scenario as the playoff game last year?
I mean, that thought rolled through my head, quite honestly. Here we are again, 1 second to go, and it comes down to the final play of the game. And, again, hats off to the defense. Again, a great red zone stop. Did it all night. Proud of those guys. And really kept our offense in this football game, and then the offense got on track. But great job for our defense.
What was the conversation like between you and Nick at halftime to sort of regather him and recalibrate him for the second half?
We just, basically a couple of subtle run adjustments with the run game, and then with he and I just, I wanted to pick his brain and find out what he was comfortable with and with the game, what we had left on the call sheet, to go to and find some things that we could generate a little bit of some offense with. And he had some ideas and I had some ideas, and we were comfortable with that, and just had to really kind of focus in on a little bit of quick throws. We got back to the run, and then a couple of deep throws that we just missed on, but those were all plays that he and I were comfortable, in the second half with.
Yeah, is there a point where when you put your quarterback in the passing lane too often, it becomes risky?
Ask that one more time.
Is there a point where when you put your quarterback out in the passing lanes too often, it becomes maybe a physical risk or something that you might want to think about not doing?
I don't understand the question.
You put your quarterback catching passes.
On that Philly play. I don't know. You know, you got to make sure that defense is going to be in man coverage and they're not accounting for your quarterback. And it's a little calculated risk. You know, you're not going to do it every week, but we felt like we had a great opportunity to do it, and he did a nice job of securing the catch and getting himself out of bounds.
You're missing Maragos and now Matt Collins and some other guys. How big of a loss are those guys in terms of special teams? Looks like you had some mistakes there tonight.
Well, we had a few, penalties there, but I don't think it's a result of personnel. I really felt like special teams overall did a nice job. Cam, kicking the ball, Jake kicking the ball, and then our cover teams were good. We just got to clean up a couple of things, after the play, after the whistle, things like that. We got the penalties on, and we do that, we'll be okay. But I thought special teams overall did a nice job.
What's the name on your play sheet of the pass that you threw to Foles?
Philly.
Oh, it is Philly?
Yeah.
It's not your favorite topic, but a report came out before the game that Carson is out several weeks. Is that accurate?
You know what? I have not seen, or I've seen it, but I'm gonna investigate that a little bit more and see where and why and when that came out. But I'm not going to comment too much more on it.
A couple more.
Thanks for asking.
Okay.
All right.
There's head coach Doug Pearson leaving the podium at Lincoln Financial Field after the Eagles defeat the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 18-12. And how about that, taking a page out of New England's playbook, calling Philly there, as Nelson Aguilar has actually finishes with the best quarterback rating, 118.8 of the night, floating the ball there for the 15-yard gain to Nick Foles. So outstanding call by Doug, and again, that really sparked the offense. And I think we all figured the offense was going to probably be sluggish early on. The defense would have to hold its way. It's just amazing that you see Doug go to that type of play to kind of get things going. And obviously the crowd loved it and it energized the offense as they scored on it.
Yeah, and how about this? Our quarterback caught the ball. Our quarterback caught the ball when they threw it to him right there. So that's another shot for Nick Foles over Tom Brady.
Indeed. So, of course, now, if you didn't have a chance to listen to Sports Radio 94 WIP, you didn't get to hear Mel Reese and Mike Quick, well, guess what? We have you covered. And plus, we even got highlights from the booth as well. So we've got all the best from their calls tonight in the latest edition of Merrillcam.
This is the 10th play of this drive. It is 4th and goal from the 1. Backs in the eye. Ryan under center. Ryan goes to Freeman. Tries to get outside. He cannot! They stop him. A goal line span.
That's
led
beautiful.
by Jordan Hicks.
That is beautiful defense. Yeah, they got the big plays. They got it down inside the 5-yard lines, but what a stand.
But this isn't necessarily Jake Elliott's favorite area. Jake likes them from 50 yards out. This is a little 26-yard chip shot. Let's see if he ties the game right here. Ball is spotted. Kick is up. And the kick is good, and we're tied at 3. Freeman to the left of Ryan, who stamps his right foot in the gun. Ryan back. Here comes the rush. He's hit. They've got him back at the 35. They got him that time. It was Jordan Hicks.
What a great job, a great play call here by Jim Swartz, bringing that blitz from the second level. And Hicks comes through, and he just runs over Freeman, the running back, on his way to that sack.
They have Corey Clement in position to the right of Foles. They go double tight end. Motion to the near side. This time, the give goes to Clement on a reverse. Aguilar fires to Foles. Foles out of bounds at the 25-yard line. The Philly special worked again. 15 yards.
Well, this time they actually snap it to Nick Foles. He gives it to Corey. He gives it to Nelson Aguilar. Aguilar throws the ball down the sideline.
Yep.
Come on, Doug. Dig into that playbook. I'm loving it.
The Philly special.
Give the fans what they want.
Doug said it was retired prematurely. 2nd and 1. Ajayi to his right. Foles puts Josh Perkins in motion. gives it to Ajayi. Touchdown!
That's the offensive line taking over the football game, beating them to the punch at the line of scrimmage, getting Jay Ajayi into pay dirt.
Great stuff, as always, from Merrill and Mike. They're in midseason form. They don't got to worry about preseason or any of that. They can just walk off the bus and be ready to go. Now, of course, you probably realize, where was the Jay Ajayi game-winning touchdown? You're going to have to check out the full version of Merrill Camp coming up later on today on PhiladelphiaEagles.com and the Eagles app. So we're waiting to hear from quarterback Nick Foles in just a little bit. But something that was intriguing for me early on in this game is how Dan Quinn, we talked about the Atlanta red zone struggles there. He tried to channel his inner Doug Peterson to go for it on 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. And the defense with Kamu Grugier-Hill and Jordan Hicks coming up in a big way to stop Devontae Freeman on the outside to stop the play. And it seemed like when the Falcons only got 3 points, despite driving the ball deep on their first 2 drives, you were just saying to yourself, that's setting the tone for the Eagles. If they can keep themselves in this and not get blown out right from the jump, they're going to be in this ball game here.
Yeah, because think about it. If those are 2 touchdowns, now you're down 14-0, and I don't know if Doug can stick with the running game.
Yeah.
You get down 14-0 in the NFL, you abandon the running game and you start throw. And with the way the offense was sputtering in the first half, that could have led to more turnovers. That could have led to putting the ball in harm's way. So the defense coming up with stops there in the first half were huge. We talked about the Falcons' issues last year in the red zone with Steve Sarkisian in his first year as the offensive coordinator. Well, the same issues happened again this year. And you mentioned that first goal line stand the Eagles had. I was actually okay with Dan Quinn going for it.
Oh, I'm not saying, I'm not questioning the decision. I agree with the decision. I think you had to go for it there.
I'm questioning the personnel that was out there, right? You go a heavy package with no Julio Jones on the field, where the defense knows you're going to run the football. At worst, you're going to throw the ball to Austin Hooper. So the defense would much rather have to cover Hooper than to have to cover Julio Jones out there. I thought it was a mistake on Steve Sarkisian from a personnel standpoint, made it much too easy for the Eagles defense and Jim Schwartz to sort of key in on Devontae Freeman in the run game. Kamu Grugier-Hill had a great game tonight, and it started with that play there where he was able to fight off 2 blocks.
That's the key
and
with
get
him.
the tackle on Devontae Freeman on 4th down. And you're right, that really set the tone for the rest of the first half from a defensive standpoint.
Speaking of Jordan Hicks, it was great when you look at the injured guys from last season. Okay, obviously Carson Wentz still sidelined, not playing tonight, but the guys that club rehab group, you have Jordan Hicks, you have Darren Sproles, and you have Jason Peters, all with outstanding efforts tonight. Jason Peters, again, man on a mission, doesn't look like he's lost a step. The coaching staff not afraid to leave him out on the island and taking care of business out there, with no problems whatsoever this evening.
And we gotta wait to hear about Jason Peters, because Howard Eskin reported late in the game, the last Eagles offensive possession, that Jason Peters went straight to the locker room. But the offense never went back out there, so we don't know if it was serious or not. I'm just going off of what I heard Howard reporting from the sideline. But you're right, when you talk about the guys that were injured last year and got back on the field this year, I thought my main man Jordan Hicks looked great. And if this guy can play 16 games, Jordan Hicks is a Pro Bowl linebacker in this league. He just needs to be able to stay healthy. His last healthy full season in 2016, I thought he played at a Pro Bowl level. Team wasn't as good, so he didn't get the recognition. Comes back last year, got off to a good start, and then got the Achilles injury to end his season. I thought he was phenomenal tonight. Jason Peters, like you said, while he was out there, picked up right where he left off. And people don't understand how big of a deal it is to have Jason Peters out there. We know that he's a future Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. But what he does for the rest of the offensive line, what he does for Mike Groh and Doug Peterson when it comes to calling plays, Jason Peters doesn't need help when blocking his man. So you don't have to turn the protection towards him. You can help the other guys. Jason Peters is going to lock his guy down tonight. How many times did we see Tank or Big Beasley thrown to the ground, not getting within 5 feet of Nick Foles because Jason Peters, the bodyguard, was back in
They
there.
just gave up.
Yeah.
Pretty much right off the snap.
Yeah.
It's like, Peters in front of me. It's not going to happen today.
Yeah.
Not whatsoever.
And you're not going to out-athletic Jason Peters.
No.
You just aren't, because he's a very good athlete for his size.
Indeed, there. So I also liked along the offensive line, you saw the unbalanced line work there to fruition. You also saw Seumalo coming in as an extra tackle. It's almost like the Eagles were playing the hits.
Yeah.
Everything that worked for them in 2017, let's just bring it back, okay? We'll do a little remix, and we'll put it back out there, and it'll be just as good, and it'll lead to more success here. So that was huge for this Eagles team here, working that offensive line, because again, looked at the preseason, what was the biggest issue there? It was that left tackle position, and as well as Big V played there down the stretch in 2017 to help the Eagles win the Super Bowl. You're looking at 2018, and they got to get this team ready. So all of a sudden you shore up that left tackle spot, and across the board, the run game was much more effective, and the pass protection, while it has its ups and downs throughout the course of the game, overall was better because, like you said, you could just leave him on an island, you can leave Lane Johnson on an island, and those two spots, those guys are going to be wiped out of the equation.
And I'll even tell you for the offensive line, the sacks that we gave up tonight, I don't think they were necessarily blocking issues. I think the receivers had a hard time getting open. Nick had to hold the ball a little bit longer than he wanted to, and they led to sacks. But I thought the offensive line did a nice job protecting. You just got to be able to get rid of the football. And I'll tell you something else with Doug and his play calling tonight. He took his chances when he saw fit to take shots deep, right? The play down the field to Mike Wallace, I thought both of those were good calls, just needed a little bit better throws. And then maybe you get big plays there, you get chunk plays. But the game wasn't working, the intermediate game wasn't working as well as we become accustomed to seeing. And I thought Doug and Mike Gross sticking with the running game, allowing Net to sort of feed the offense and then get some passes in there was really the key to this offense, getting some rhythm and coming up with the big touchdown drives that for both Jay Ajayi touchdowns.
The mission for the Eagles in the next 10 days is how do you generate those X plays, those chunk plays. And is it as simple as you get Alshon Jeffrey back in the lineup? That could be a possibility. But nonetheless, though, that's going to be the challenge for the Eagles as they get the mini bye, which is good for them. They get a couple extra days to rest. They've got that. They get that first win in the back pocket because we'll get into the schedule later on down the show. But it is really a difficult schedule with the first place, with the divisions you're going against this year, that you need to get these early wins as much as possible, especially knowing that you're not going to be playing at full tilt because you don't have Carson Wentz in the lineup and you're missing some key guys like Alshon Jeffrey out there on the field.
Yeah, and I don't know when Alshon's going to be back. I know he was out there in the pregame sort of warming up before everybody came out, so I saw him catching passes and stuff on Twitter. Looked good there, so I know he's anxious to get back as soon as he can. But you asked a question about what the Eagles will need. They need another receiver to step up. They need someone else to be able to step up, whether it's Mike Wallace on the outside, posing a threat, stretching the defense, opening up the middle of the field, or whether you're getting a Shelton Gibson or DeAndre Carter playing the other receiver, the X-receiver spot, and opening it up. I just thought it was too crowded in the middle of the field because you don't have those safeties backing off. And what I saw from the Falcons defense is that they didn't necessarily fear the Eagles running by them, except for Mike Wallace a couple times. And when the Eagles did decide to go deep to him, there was usually a safety over there to help with him. But you're going to need more than just go routes. You're going to need somebody with the deep end routes. You're going to need crossing routes, things of that nature, things that pull safeties out of the middle of the field so that Nelson can operate in there. We saw how it worked last year with Torrey Smith and Alshon when they're in the game. Nelson was able to be a legitimate threat on third down just about any time they were in third down. Think about all those third and longs that Carson was able to convert because you couldn't just key in on one guy. What I saw tonight from our passing game is that we didn't really pose a threat to Atlanta's defense, at least enough to make them back off.
No, and credit to Nelson Aguilar, who did the most with what he could. Obviously, you look at the numbers at the end of the night, 10 targets, 8 catches for just 33 yards, but they came in some pivotal situations there, some third down conversions, and I think one third down and long conversion that was wiped out due to penalty, but knowing that he was going to be the go-to guy with, Alshon and Mack out tonight, he made the most of the opportunity.
He did his part, for sure.
That's the biggest thing you do there. The other situation that we were watching come into the game tonight was at linebacker. We've talked about Jordan Hicks, but no Nigel Bradham, all right, suspended for the first game of the year. So the base package, you saw Kamu Grugier-Hill, who we talked about, Nathan Garrett out there as well. We also saw a lot of the big nickel package coming in tonight. Corey Graham, number 24, working in to add a little bit more beef there if they were going to have to contend against the run. But, goes back to Steve Sarkisian and the play call, and they really did not go to the run game. It was pretty much a heavy dose of let's get the ball to Julio, try to feed him as much as possible, which, again, worked from the 20s to the 20s, but in the red zone, it didn't come to fruition. So I thought that Jim Schwartz and the Eagles defense did a good job of overcoming the loss of Nigel Brown, knowing you're going to get that physical playmaking presence 10 days from now in week 2.
And I'm glad you brought up the linebackers. I was kind of skeptical about how the young guys would do out there tonight going up against this Falcons offensive line, these 2 running backs. But I got to give them credit, man. They did a better job than I thought they were going to do tonight. The Falcons, to their credit, they ran the ball enough because you saw Camus out there and you saw Nathan Gary out there an awful lot tonight. I thought we was going to see more big nickel out there. But the Falcons wanted to try to keep the Eagles in that base defense so they could run the ball when they tried to. Wasn't a whole lot there. I thought the young linebackers did a nice job getting off the block. More importantly, playing downhill, being decisive as opposed to indecisive, allowing those Atlanta offensive linemen to get up to them and not have to fight those big boys off. And then obviously when you got a front 4 in front of you like the guys that we have, they're going to make your job a lot easier as well.
Indeed. So Devontae Freeman, just 6 carries for 36 yards. Tevin Coleman, 9 carries for 19 yards. He did have a touchdown in the game tonight, but still just not enough as the Eagles beat the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 18-12.
And we just saw a highlight of a guy we hadn't talked about just yet. Julio had 10 catches on 19 targets for 169 yards. 0 touchdowns for the 4th game, I believe, against the Eagles. They kept him out of the end zone. But Ron Darby's play.
Yes.
Ron Darby's play tonight was outstanding. I mean, he was in Julio's hip pocket whenever they were in man coverage, really was able to stay over the top of him whenever Matt Ryan wanted to go deep. Gave up some other plays where they had to move Julio around almost to get him away from Ron Darby. You really saw Ron Darby's athleticism and his speed on display tonight against one of the game's best wide receivers. 8 tackles, 5 solo tackles. The 3 pass deflections were huge because I think all 3 pass deflections prevented first downs to Julio Jones. So all 3 of his pass deflections, I believe, came against Julio Jones. And I guarantee you, Julio left the game tonight thinking about number 21 because there were some plays to be made for him there that 21 just wouldn't give up.
We haven't even talked about the one that Julio should have been given credit for, that 52-yard reception in the second half, which really could have tipped the scales in Atlanta's favor. He pulled a double move on Jalen Mills, had him beat down the field. Matt Ryan aired it out over his shoulder, and Julio was he seemed like he had secured it as he was going out of bounds, but the referees disagreed, and we got the hometown call.
Yeah, we still don't know what a catch is. I thought they cleared this up.
That's what they said they did.
But fortunately for us, that call went our way. There was a lot of calls out there tonight. I'm pretty sure we had some go against us that we didn't like.
It was historic. The amount of penalties, again, 15 accepted penalties for the Falcons, 135 yards of lost yardage due to penalties, and then 11 penalties for the Eagles. Not a whole lot better. So, but I think during the NBC broadcast, they said the 15 penalties was a record.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the refs were in preseason form. They wanted to throw the line on the field everywhere.
They're going to be sore. They're going to have sore elbows and everything else.
And quite frankly, there were some subjective calls there. You know that, and listen, holding calls, pass interference, things like that. You're at the referee's mercy as to whether or not they're going to either allow you to just play or they're going to call a ticky-tack foul. Again, there were enough out there tonight that both teams got enough to complain about, and also been fortunate enough that some of them went their favor tonight because there were some balls that were dropped that I thought were caught on both sides, ball that I thought may have been a fumble that was ruled incomplete, on our behalf from Zach Ertz there at one point in time. So sloppy play, first game, it's not anything that's out of the ordinary when you're coming out of the preseason. And in today's NFL, where no team really plays their first teamers through the first 4 weeks. Through those 4 weeks of preseason football because they just want to get to the first game as healthy as possible.
Of course.
You're going to see sloppy play. You're going to see grabbing. You're going to see things of that nature. You're also going to see guys like the Atlanta Falcons defenders cramp up because they haven't played a full game.
They're tapping out in the fourth
They haven't
quarter.
played a full game. It was hot out there tonight. But what a wonderful start to the season. And in typical Philadelphia fashion, it had to be a little memorable, right? Because we had the lightning delay at the beginning of tonight's opening game that started.
We can't even have our championship moment.
It delayed the celebration for a little bit, yeah.
You know, but that's another thing that to take into consideration is, did that play much of a factor? Because it seemed like that the crowd was in the stadium, you know, at 7:30. They were amped up. They were ready to reveal the banner and see the trophy come out on the field, and a magnificent display there with Jeffrey Lurie carrying out the trophy for the fans. But, you know, when you have that delay, it kind of tempered expectations. Everybody's, you know, running to the concourse, having to come back. It kind of dampened the enthusiasm just a little bit. And then the Eagles, hey, look, when the Eagles won the coin toss and deferred and the Falcons got the ball first, I thought that was the perfect scenario for the Eagles, because I wanted to see the Eagles defense go out there first. And then what did the Falcons do? They drive it down the length of the field, but then you get the goal line stand, which it's like, okay, great situation there. But then the offense pretty much gives it right back, so it's essentially like a punt. And then the Falcons drive it back down again and get the field goal to take the early 3-0 lead. And you kind of were waiting for, you know, for something to get the crowd energized, to get the crowd into it, because certainly they wanted to cheer this team on, okay? They wanted to celebrate, you know, the Super Bowl banner unveiling, that World Championship banner that's now going to hang permanently from the rafters at Lincoln Financial Field. They wanted to savor the moment as much as possible, but of course, it's time to turn the page now, and the Eagles getting a huge win here to start things off in what's going to be a very competitive and crowded AFC conference. When you look at the other divisions and the teams who could be in the mix here, we're going to be talking about different teams, I'm sure, between now and the end of the regular season. But right now, when you look at the typical conference powers and some new teams who could be added to the mix, you know, the Eagles need every edge they can get, because we all saw how important home field advantage was for this team a year ago, just losing the one regular season game at home and then dominating in the playoffs. But of course, that playoff run began against the Atlanta Falcons, and again, both games come down to a 4th and goal. You know, the first matchup came down to a 4th and goal throw. This one came to time about to run out. Should have been a 4th and goal situation, but Jordan Hicks was called for the penalty. But outside of that, very similar endings. Julio Jones doesn't catch the ball on the right side of the field. Julio Jones does catch it, but is out of bounds on the left side of the field in the second one. And to your credit, Ike, we haven't talked much about Ronald Darby. Darby was a man covering him on the one at the end of the game tonight.
Yeah, forcing that play. And really, when you look at the replay, Ron Darby making sure he pushes Julio Jones completely out of bounds. When they put that rule in that there is no force out on a catch, a receiver can do, a defensive back can do whatever he needs to do.
Push him out.
To get him out of bounds. And there was no way Julio was coming down with both feet in bounds there. He makes the catch this time, doesn't have the feet in bounds. Last year, or earlier this year, I should say, in the playoff game, kept both feet in bounds, but couldn't come down with the catch. And I'm sure the Atlanta Falcons have seen enough of Lincoln Financial Field and this Eagles defense. But I tell you what, man, we could see this team again in the postseason, because I think they are a good team, but they have some issues they certainly need to iron out. And I think they're going to see a different Eagles team if they do happen to see us in the playoffs, because we're Carson to be back on the field. We expect the offense to be clicking on all cylinders. Eagles didn't have their full complementary of weapons tonight, but had to do whatever they needed to do to get this victory. Great job by this team. Great job by Jim Schwartz's defense, really keeping the team in the game, coming up with big stops, constantly putting Matt Ryan under pressure. Man, I look at these offensive skill position players of the Falcons, and I get nervous when I see all these guys out there.
Well, that's the thing with this team.
Yeah.
There is a level of underperforming there, because all week long when you preview the matchup, you go, quarterback Matt Ryan was the MVP a couple of years ago. Julio Jones, arguably the best receiver in the game, and you know what he brings to the table. You look at those two running backs.
They can be starters on any team in the NFL.
Certainly. Yeah. Mohamed Sanu, quality number 2 receiver. Did we hear Calvin Ridley's name?
He dropped one pass tonight.
And that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
You know, Calvin Ridley was the guy who we thought you're going to add him to this offensive arsenal, but you know, whether it's the play calling, whether it's Matt Ryan taking a step back in his game, whether it's the defense just doing a great job of getting in Ryan's face to make life tough for him, it's this offense has just not been able to generate points against this Eagles defense. Maybe it's just the way the styles match up when they meet when these two teams get together. But you know, the Eagles have
They can't block this Eagles defensive line.
No.
To me, that's where it's at. The Eagles D-line, I think, and Matt Ryan's no different than any quarterback in this league. You hit them enough, they're going to start getting a little jittery back there. They're going to either get rid of the ball before they need to, or they're going to be erratic with some of the passes that are thrown out there. And I thought the Eagles all night long, they were in Matt Ryan's face. They made him uncomfortable. They made him escape the pocket. He had to throw on the run. A couple times in the first half, he had to tuck the ball and run himself because he was being flushed out of the pocket. So, I thought the defensive line, which it was the exact same formula for success for the Eagles in the playoff game, they dominated in that victory. It was the same recipe tonight.
Yeah.
Get after him. Get after these guys up front. Fletcher Cox can't be blocked. Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett, Chris Long, they were just coming from all sorts of waves tonight.
That's going to be the key for this defense is can the defensive line rotation hold up throughout the course of the year? That was a big question after losing guys like Vinnie Curry and Bo Allen was saying, look, this was the key to the Eagles' success last season. They're going to need it once again. And, they brought in quality veteran guys, but you don't know how they're going to fit into the new scheme. And something that Fran Duffy had pointed out to me while watching the pregame warm-ups, Michael Bennett's out there leading the offensive and defensive line huddles.
Yeah.
Okay, he's leading the breakdowns for them. So you rarely hear a coach, one like Jim Schwartz, rave about a player during the preseason and training camp because they're kind of trying to keep everyone at arm's length, so to speak, from praising him up too much.
Right.
But he couldn't say enough good things. He was gushing over what Michael Bennett has brought, not just from the on-field performance, but from the leadership behind the scenes. And I think that was interesting because that was the big question with him coming from Seattle was he going to be someone who was a malcontent in the locker room? But he's a guy who's just fit in with the program. They joke about the bromance between he and Chris Long. It's you just look at that defensive line group, and it's Michael Bennett and Chris Long and Fletcher Cox and Haloti not all having the lockers right next to one another there. It's just a wealth of experience, a wealth of talent, and certainly setting the tone for that side of the ball, and not including the other leaders that you have, guys like Captain Malcolm Jenkins there, who thrived in all the numerous roles that he was asked to put on here tonight.
Yeah, this defensive line, listen, Michael Bennett seems like he's fitting into this culture pretty well, and from everything you hear, he's been one of the leaders that's taking a step here with the team.
All right, let's send it over back to the link where quarterback Nick Foles, the victorious quarterback, is now set to address the media.
Philly this time, or was that Doug? Or
honestly, we were both thinking the same thing at the same time. I went over there to talk to him and say this might be a good time, and he pointed to the call sheet, and I was like, that's what I was coming over here for. So it worked again.
What's going through your mind as you guys make that play call to kind of ignite the offense?
In games like this, Atlanta's a tremendous team. Their defense did an amazing job tonight, mixing up the coverage. They did a really good job in their man coverage tonight. But in the game right there where it's third down, you need a big conversion, but you also want to get some momentum going. So we knew that we could probably get them in man coverage at that time. So they don't really account for me, and they dropped me, gave me a little bit of time. Nelly got on the edge and made a great throw. But yeah, I think that was just a huge momentum boost for us during the game.
Nick, when you guys are having problems getting into a rhythm offensively, what's the key to kind of battling through it?
Yeah, I mean, it's never fun. Like I said, that defense, they played lights out tonight. They did a great job. And I think the big thing is just continue to communicate on the sidelines. Just continue to keep working, one play at a time. This game's not easy. Winning in the NFL is not easy, especially against a team like Atlanta. So it's just no one freak out. Everyone take it easy. We keep looking at the pictures. We keep talking about the plays. We go out there and we execute. We stay calm in the huddle, and the guys did a great job all night of staying calm in the huddle, just continue to work. When we get behind the chains, just continue to work. And, it was a dogfight all night. Our defense did a great job. When Atlanta got in the red zone, really helped us out. And, it was a really great team win tonight.
When did you feel like you were really starting to get in a rhythm?
When did I?
When did you feel personally?
Honestly, those are one of those unique games where, it's not really a rhythm thing. It's just you're going to fight all game. They did a great job of, playing us, covering us, doing zone, doing man, going too high safeties. They don't do that a lot. And it's just one of those things where it wasn't a rhythmic game, but I thought our guys fought hard, and I thought we made some big plays when we needed to. Our defense did a great job, special teams, but it was a very unique game.
you surprised out, really Philly special, that the next team you played was, victimized by a quarterback catch as well?
I mean, not really. I mean, if you can get a team at the right time, sometimes it's great to have it, in there. You also need, to be able to catch it and everything. But I love having plays like that. Our team loves. I mean, everyone loves a good trick play.
You were catching pass after pass. You were running patterns in the warm-ups. Was it especially because this play was in the playbook tonight?
No, I do that every warm-up, and it's a way for me to go out there and be a kid for a little bit, warm up the body, catch. I've done it my entire life, and something that I still do. I think some coaches probably think I'm crazy doing it, but it's something I enjoy doing.
Nick, very similar to last year, this team just seems to find a way to get a win no matter what the circumstances are, the defense, the goal line stand. What does it say about the character of this team to make up a very similar group to be able to do this again?
I mean, it's the NFL. Winning games is so tough, and I'd say the big thing with our team is we never turn on each other. On the sidelines, if the offense is struggling, we're not. The defense isn't. They're going out there and they're going to get the ball back for us. That's their mindset. They have our backs. Vice versa. If the defense, gives up a couple plays, hey, we're going to go out there. We're going to help you. Special teams is, the center of everything. So I think when you have a team like that, throughout a tough game like this where there's not a lot of rhythm, I mean, that's how you have to win games. You lean on each other, you never turn on each other, and that's what's built here. That's the character of this team.
Nick, you went to Nelson a lot early and then throughout the game. Was that just what they were giving you defensively? Was that a point of emphasis? How did that kind of play out?
Yeah, a lot of times, I mean, Nelson's a great receiver. He's a guy I have a lot of trust in. He does a great job of getting open. And a lot of times, too, is just going through my progressions and just getting the ball to him, getting to him. But, yeah, I think it was more just going through my plays, and, he finds a way to get open.
On the gadget play, Malcolm Jenkins said he didn't know that was in the playbook. He hadn't seen it at practice. When's the last time you guys practiced that?
The Philly?
Yeah, I don't know if we're calling this version.
Well, the first version was the Philly special. This is actually Philly. I miscalled it, I guess, in the Super Bowl, so it got both. So now we have a Philly. Yeah, we did it one time in practice, and he was probably watching film, because offense, defense. But, yeah, we got one good rep. So
How was Carson on the sideline helping you? Obviously, he wanted to be out there starting this game. How did he, take that?
I mean, just like he always does. We sit over there as a quarterback group. We go through the pictures. We talk about what they ask me what I'm seeing. I ask them what they're seeing, and it's a group effort. That's how it was at the end of the season. That's how it is now. And we have a really great quarterback room. It's fun to go work with them because they're guys that we can talk about those situations and help each other out.
What does the offense have to do to get
into the offense? Obviously, getting back was really a boost.
Just getting Darren out there is awesome. He's such a tremendous player. He's an amazing teammate, one of my favorite teammates of all time. So just to have him out there, it means a lot. He's so dynamic. He can do, so many different things. But I think just who he is and what he represents and his work ethic, I mean, he just brings everyone together, which is really special.
How does Nelson compare to Trey Burton as a passer?
I mean, they're different players. I mean, Trey was like a tight end. As a passer. Sorry, I thought you were going. My bad. What time is it? 1:20. They both put the ball on the money. So they're both 2 for 1 for 1 and 1 for 1. So hats off to them.
What does this offense have to do to get better moving forward? Do you feel like?
I think we just keep working. We're gonna watch this film. We're gonna be critical, and we're gonna keep working. One day at a time. That's what we always do. I mean, we've played a lot of football. Playing in the NFL is not easy. Winning these games isn't easy. I think that's what we lean on. But there's a lot of stuff we have to clean up. And, we have the guys that are going to be critical of one another to do that. So when we get back into the facility, we'll go about it like we always do and get better.
The Philly is different than the Philly special, but it's just almost exactly like the play the Patriots ran against you guys. What are your thoughts on that you end up stealing the play that failed in the last game you played?
I mean, it's a good play. I think, it's just one of those things where there's a lot of, even the Philly special, it had been ran on different levels of football. It was just not at that certain time in a Super Bowl in that situation. That's what made it so unique. And the name of the play. I think that, this league, there's a lot of great plays. There's a lot of great minds. So when you see something like that, it's unique and it works well, you try to execute it like they do. So, I mean, it's a good play.
You're getting this game out of the way now with the banner being unfurled, and now you have the Week 1 win. I know the focus was pretty much for the most of the team on this season, and now officially the focus will be on this season now 18 and 17 is all over pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a great honor tonight. I know this city and Philadelphia Eagle fans all around, and us as players, this is an exciting moment. But yes, it's really great to get a win in week 1, especially on this stage with everything going around. There's a lot going around the city today. It felt honestly like it was like a playoff game sort of atmosphere. Our crowd was so loud. There's a lot going on. I mean, trying to get to the game was hard. I had to try to get here really early because I was in traffic. But it is nice to move on and improve and now get the season going.
Did you at all? I know you guys didn't watch the ceremony. I mean, you guys were in the locker room during the ceremonies. Did you at all catch yourself looking up at that banner at all during the game?
I saw when I ran out there and I glanced up once, but I was so focused on just playing this game, playing against the Falcons. I know I've watched them on film. I played against them last year. I knew it was going to take every ounce of energy I had to just focus in and not pay attention to everything else going on. But yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a great honor having that banner up there. It'll be there forever, and I know that all the fans and everyone are super proud of it.
Nick, how important is it for you to stay locked in, not knowing just how much may or may not start with Wentz's situation? How important is it for you not to kind of let your mind wander and just stay locked in as if you're going to start no matter what the circumstances?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where, I just take it one day at a time, and I've said it all along, you try to prepare as a starter, but there is, it's a unique situation, but that's where I just, stay in the moment, give everything I have to my teammates, prepare like I always do, and then we'll see what happens.
We'll take one more from Zach. In your time here, Nick, both stints, the games haven't always been pretty, but you tend to win much more than you lose. Why is that? Is there something to that?
It's just the people I work with. I've always said, this team, the people that work at, the NovaCare facility, the character of everyone there. It doesn't matter who you are, not just the football players. It's a special place to work. It's a camaraderie. It's a family. And, it's not just about X's and O's in this game. We always try to make it X's and O's, but it's not. It's not turning on one another. It's going to work every day and enjoying where you work and staying longer because you just enjoy being there. So I've been fortunate, in my stints in Philly to, work in a great environment at a great facility with great people. And I really, pay tribute to them for us being able to pull out these tough wins.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, there's quarterback Nick Foles leaving the podium. And, Nick was asked during the week about his penchant for having such a high variance in his performances. Either you get Hall of Fame worthy Nick Foles, like in the Super Bowl, or you get, just some so-so performances. Rarely is he in between. And tonight was probably on the lesser end of the scale with only a 50.4 quarterback rating. But guess what? At the end of the day, he got the win.
Yeah, and he did a nice job of taking care of the football for the most part.
Yes.
Probably had one or two other throws that could have ended up wrong for him.
Should have been.
And eventually, the safety made the play on Dallas Goedert. That wasn't necessarily Nick Foles' fault or Dallas Goedert's fault. That's just a great play by the safety, putting his helmet on the ball and popping it out of there. But I thought Nick, listen, this is what he does. We've seen him throughout his career. We've seen him at his highest. We've seen him when he struggled. I thought tonight he didn't force anything. Didn't have any critical turnovers in the red zone. The thing that had me a little concerned were the two interceptions he threw in the Cleveland game because they were just bad decisions.
Yep.
They were unlike Nick Foles to make those types of decisions at those moments in the game. Didn't have any of those tonight. That's certainly what you want to clean up. And while Nick, he talked about it the other day, how he may need a couple weeks to sort of get his rhythm. Former basketball player, he needs a couple games before he can really have a real good rhythm and feel confident in what he's doing. Well, tonight he stayed within himself. I thought Doug did a great job calling the game.
Yep.
Really not asking Nick to do a whole lot. Some safe throws out there. Took some chances when they needed to. And listen, when your defense is playing as well as they are, you don't need to take chances. You don't need to take chances and give the ball back to the Atlanta Falcons and keep putting your defense in tough positions. Defense found themselves in some difficult positions at times tonight, but I thought they came up pretty big each time.
Yes, they did. So we've heard from Coach Peterson and quarterback Nick Foles. What we're going to do now is take a break here on the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. Believe it or not, our first break of the entire night here. So on the other side, Ike and I are going to discuss the Toyota Player of the Week nominees. Now, if you're following us on Facebook or Twitter, you need to come on over to PhiladelphiaEagles.com or the app to watch the rest of the show. We'll see you after these messages.